A great feeling from Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey in the morning makes me feel alive. Woke me up this morning, now I'm up and on my way. Oh, 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 yeah, what a great way to start your day, the Lakey way.
This way. I gotta go. I got all sorts of things happening here in the program. Welcome to the show, everybody. How's this? It's gonna be one of those days, isn't it? Good to have you here on the program. Jaime Lagos, Jimmy Lakey is my name. Pleasured, pleased, and absolutely thrilled to be here on the show today. I really, really am to be here, and happy day, happy day, happy day. I'll put on the show sheet today all the stories I've been teasing and haven't gotten to. I have all those on the sheet today, so we're going to get to all those. Great lineup of guests. Sheriff Steve Reams is going to be on the program with us. That's coming up in just a few moments, about 30 minutes after the hour. So we'll have Sheriff Steve Reams right here in my home state and my home county of Colorado. And you'd never want to miss Sheriff Steve Reams. We're going to talk about illegals with driver's licenses. We're going to talk about the presence of Tren de Aragua and the grand headquarters in Colorado, where Jared Polis, our esteemed governor, has facilitated their, headquarters operating here. And he said it was an imagination, but it wasn't our imagination. It was just that Jared Polis is a deceitful and evil, evil person that doesn't care about the state of Colorado or the progress or the quality of life that we have here. So anyway, good to have you here on the show. Jimmy Lakey is my name. Anybody watching the news today? If you're watching the news, there's a lot of things they're still talking about. They're trying their best to figure out if Zelensky is going to get a deal with Putin. They're trying to poo-poo it and do everything they can to say that Donald Trump has not done an amazing job at getting those sides together. And for all these disingenuous media types that are out there blabbering, and that's what they're doing, blabbering, flopping their jaws, and they're out there just talking about they're trying to set it up that this is not a success and that Donald Trump said he'd have this solved quickly. And I wonder why they haven't gone back and asked the previous administration, why didn't you ever try to call a meeting? Why didn't you ever pick up the phone? And even if Donald Trump doesn't get this done, and I think they're going to get this done, I think they're going to come to a peace deal of some sorts, land swap, something's going to happen. I think they have everything in motion, and Donald Trump has pieced it together very craftily and very slowly with his team. But I think what's interesting is the media who keeps trying to chalk it up as a loss is not asking the question or even making the statement or reminding you that Donald Trump's the first person or president since this began that actually picked up the phone and tried to call Vladimir Putin. So anyway, good to talk to you. I'm watching the news just earlier this morning, and I'm like, how long are they going to dwell on this story? A story that I've had on the sheet all week that I think is also interesting is your kids head back to school. Do you know what is being funded or what is being taught at the schools? California has been notified by the administration that they're cutting off some of their federal education funding because California refused to change or delete their curriculum regarding gender ideology. The administration, this education department says, listen, if you're going to get funding from this state, from the feds, and you're going to fund a program, you can't be teaching transgenderism and all the gender and sex ideology. You can't do it. You're going to teach reading, writing, and arithmetic, or we'll cut your funding off. And so California has been notified by the feds that they're going to lose some of their education funding because they refuse to change their curriculum. Another interesting thing I find is that I watched an interview this morning in which they asked someone from the Trump Department of Education, are any other states in danger of this? And they said yes, they're reviewing curriculum, especially regarding the LGBTQ transgender agenda. And they're reviewing everybody's curriculum on it, and they're going to be notifying in the next several days 40 different states that either you change your curriculum and you get rid of the indoctrination about transgenderism and the non-binary sexuality and all the things that they like to talk about and mental illnesses, but they call it sex education. Here's what they want you to do. that you're going to change your curriculum or the feds are going to cut funding off for those programs in your state. So I would guess the state of Colorado is going to be on that program. I'm guessing they will be, but we'll see. All right, so everybody stand by. Hold your horses because the Trump administration is fighting back against their transgender ideology. And, of course, the left and their paid protesters paid for by Soros or whoever are going to say, oh, my God, they just hate the gay community, not realizing or reading the tea leaves that this is probably a 70-30, 80-20 issue when it comes to you think that your kids should be taught details of transgenderism and sexuality by the school in the first place, let alone throughout their entire career. You know, drag queen readings in the public library, you're not going to do it. And the Trump administration says, no, California has been put on notice. And guess what? Now, Donald Trump is saying we got 40 more states that are about to be put on notice that you're about to lose some funding. More power to you. I like it. Donald Trump was on Truth Social this morning. I always remember back in his first administration, the news tone was set by what Donald Trump tweeted early in the morning, and it went out on Twitter and everybody talked about it. They're horrified. Oh, mean tweets. Well, now he truths early in the morning, and this is the one he sent out today. And those of us in Colorado will know exactly what it means. Some of the rest of you may not, but this is what Donald Trump put out today. Free Tina Peters, a brave, innocent patriot who has been tortured by crooked Colorado politicians, including the big mail-in ballot supporting the governor of the state. Let Tina, he's talking about dumbass Jared Polis. I'm sorry. Mr. Jared Polis, sorry. We'll just leave it at that. Mr. Jared Polis. Let Tina Peters out of jail right now. She did nothing wrong except catching the Democrats cheat in the election. She's an old woman and very sick. If she is not released, I'm going to take harsh measures. So Colorado, be on notice. Donald Trump says he's going to take harsh measures. I'm sure Tina Peters appreciates any help she can get right now as she's locked up in the pokey by a very evil governor and Secretary of State that we have here, Jenna Griswold. She's locked up, and it was just, they're bad people. They're bad people that one day, when we all stand beside the pearly gates, you know, there's some people you want to kind of nuzzle up to, like stand next to him and say, I'm with him. There's other people when you stand up before that seat and the big dog's up there and he's up there, you have the pearly gates. Can I come in? Can I come in? Some people you're kind of nuzzling over to, like, I'm with him. He's a +1. I'm going with her. You know, that thing. And there's other people you're like, oh, gosh, don't stand anywhere in the neighborhood. And I say this sincerely. I'm not the man to judge. I don't get the final rendering at all. But I tell you this, I say this sincerely. Jared Polis and Jenna Griswold are people that I don't want to stand next to on that day. Just not going to do it. I don't want to stand next to them on that day because I'm just saying, I don't have, it's not my business. I don't get to make the rendering, but just to be safe, I'm not hanging out with those two on that day. I'd be more likely to get in with producer Chad than Jared Polis. That's just kidding. All right, good to have all of you here on the show. With Tina Peters, we're going to talk about that in just a bit with Marley Hornick coming up at about 9 a.m. this morning. She's going to talk about free Tina Peters. All right, let's read some of the chats that are coming in. I also want to give you a question of the day to comment on. Hello from Arkansas. Just saw that one flash across the screen very quickly. Wherever you're at, if you're new to the program, we always like you to check in, say hello. And when you put a post on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, and Twitter, I think we see all those. And we're on several of those feeds and many different streams. And we don't get to see, I don't think we're on the Instagram this morning. The Instagram was acting up and we were having some difficulty. So I don't think we're on the IG this morning. But let us know where you're from. Say Heidi Ho. Producer Chad loves it when you say Heidi Ho and tell him how wonderful he is. Just say something nice about producer Chad. It makes him very happy. Rather than listening to me the entire program, he can read your chats about saying how wonderful he is. That's what you can do. Arloa's giving us a weather report. We like that. A rainy day in East Texas. Hallelujah. Listen, I know Texas, and rainy days in East Texas are not hard to find usually. You guys have a little drought down there, Arloa? That's what everybody tuned in for you and I to talk about the weather. Hey, let's go watch the Lakey Unleashed program, and he's going to talk with that lady in East Texas about the drought in East Texas. It's East Texas, the further you go East Texas toward Louisiana, it's the piney woods. They got a lot of rain there. Not as wet as Rwanda, That's not as wet there. So, by the way, speaking of Rwanda, don't forget our charity golf event coming up on Friday, September the 5th. About 2 weeks from tomorrow, we're going to be there. If you three more foursomes registered yesterday, three more sponsorship holes the day before. So if you'd like to participate, there's not too late. We'd love to have you. And there's a military veterans and first responder package available for you now. Go there. It's riverspromise.com, riverspromise.org. And in just a bit, I'll show you a little bit of a feature. I was out at the golf course where we're going to play this thing. I was out there and I was looking for my ball. Lost it. And the sad thing, I wasn't even playing golf, but I'm digging through the weeds there, trying to find it. And you'll see that here in just a bit. I promise you we shall. All right. Good to have you here on the show. Can I play this thing here? And I want to go to my first guest of the morning. I like to annoy the media. And for some of you, maybe too young to remember, and the media annoys me, so I like to annoy them. I like to get the truth out. And sometimes all you got to do is play the truth as it has been framed. Remember the narrative that they would like you to have, and people have not bought it, is that Donald Trump is a guy that doesn't know what he's doing. He's just kind of a celebrity. He didn't mean to be president. He's not a thoughtful guy. He's not a serious thinker. These tariffs, these are just reckless. He's a cowboy throwing things around. He has no clue, no strategy. That's not how the Bush family would think. That's not how the Clinton family would think. They've kind of tried to frame it as if Donald Trump's just kind of faking it. I want to play a clip. I just found this last night, and I loaded it up for the show today. I want to play it because it kind of shows that the narrative that they have had is fake, and they used to love Donald Trump. They used to always ask him if he's running for president. So it wasn't just something, even though he ran for president, they're acting surprised that he ran. Throughout the years, Donald Trump was always being asked, and you found that he had a very thoughtful plan, and a lot of that plan he's been implementing. This is an appearance that he had 1988. I was in high school, my friends. I was not. I think I was in high school. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll play this for you. This is Donald Trump on the Oprah Winfrey Show, as Oprah, who cheered and for Kamala, made $1 million off Kamala's campaign and slammed Donald Trump because she's a disingenuous broad, that Oprah Winfrey. But here we go. This is her adoringly asking and admiring the thoughts of Donald Trump. Again, they lie to you when they act like they're surprised he ran, he's surprised he won, and all of his policies are kind of rogue and reckless. They lied to you that they've been asking him about policies since 1988. Let's go back in time.
Policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion, and yet we let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me, and I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Probably not, but I do get tired of seeing the country ripped off.
Why would you not?
I just don't think I really have the inclination to do it. I love what I'm doing. I really like it.
Also, it doesn't pay as well.
No, it doesn't. But, you know, I just probably wouldn't do it, Oprah.
I'll play more of that here in a bit. Why don't you hear? But I just watched that and I said, wow, he's been saying the same thing since 1988, and the media and the pundits act like it's not been floated, have never been vetted. He's never put real thought into any of these policies that he has. These tariffs, he's never put thought in that. He's just being reactionary. No, he's put a lot of thought in it back since 1988 when he was on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Let me bring you my first guest of the morning on a different and unrelated topic. His name is Tim Keller. He's a healthcare lifestyle analyst, founder of the U.S. Diabetes Care, mission-driven health education company focused on ending diabetes epidemic in America. And ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tim Keller in the green room, and I bring him onto the stage if I hit the right buttons. Tim Keller, welcome back to the show, sir.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Doing very well. Glad to have you here on the show. Tim, I want to jump in here talking about the Trump administration and the things that Donald Trump is implementing. I think one of the things that might have caught Trump off guard, that his administration would become to be known for health and wellness again. Of course, the endorsement of Robert F. Kennedy Jr., now the Health and Human Services Secretary. Now you've got the Bobby Kennedy and Pete challenge of doing push-ups and sit-ups. You've got all this health stuff coming out. The presidential fitness exam or award for schools is coming back. We have all this talk about fitness. That's kind of probably caught President Trump. Maybe that wasn't what he was thinking about in 1988, but give me your thoughts as you're trying to eradicate diabetes.
Well, I'm sure that wasn't a thought in 1988. We didn't have the problem with diabetes that we had today in 1988. Now, I think wheels of motion were in place in 1988 to create the epidemic, which means the processed food industry and big pharma and big agriculture and the medical system all kind of being in bed together. There's no money in a cure, so they start putting processed foods things in place: hydrogenized wheat, high fructose corn syrup, processed sugar, flour. Then you got refined fats and oils. All this stuff is chemical poisons. It's killing us. It's in every food item in our aisles, in these grocery stores, in of our bakery goods. They say that sugar is more addicting than cocaine. There's so many foods that have a sugar component into it. It breaks down into sugar in the body. It creates an insulin resistance of the muscle, which is now goes into full-blown type 2, type 3 diabetes. Now, type 1 is a different disease. It's autoimmune. The pancreas doesn't produce insulin. There's no uploading to the muscle. So that disease is a little different. The type 1s have a little more harder time because they have to be insulin dependent, and their small blood vessels are getting attacked daily a lot faster than
Yep.
someone that did it to themselves.
Well, let me ask you a question. Are you seeing things as you watch this and you're trying to eradicate diabetes, this type 2 epidemic that has happened? A lot of Robert F. Kennedy, the administration, talks about the processed foods, talk about the diets, the foods that we think we're eating. I ate that as a kid. You look and you can compare the ingredients of what used to be in them and not in them. Do you think progress is being made to get back to some kind of decency when it comes to what goes into our foods in America? Europe doesn't even allow some of the stuff we have.
Yeah, I like a lot of what they're trying to say and do. The reality is saying something and actually doing it are two different actions. I think we need a lot of more time than the 3.5 years we have left to get a lot of these policies in place and acted out on. Let's talk about the Coca-Colas. Like, well, no more, high fructose corn syrup and Coke, and we're going to put sugar cane. It's like, what's the difference? I mean, sugar cane still is a processed sugar. It's still broken down in the body the same way. If you look at a sugar cane, it's a fibrous rod, right? And then once they process it down, you come up with different sugar contents. Now, I would say sugar cane is a lot better than the processed white sugar that we consume, but it's still not the best option. And then, education, I think, is the most important things we can do in right now. RFK Jr. said the other day, getting some education as far as like cooking classes or something. Now, I will admit, I love RFK Jr., but I kind of chuckled at that because it's like we got to do a lot more than cooking classes. But at least we're making statements and trying to get progress going in the right direction.
I like what you said earlier, and I think this is so important, and maybe America is more awake to it than ever before, that after the mistrust that has developed of the vaccine of what I call the Booger Cootie virus, so they don't get banned, the COVIDs, that vaccine and some of the problems that happened there, and the myocarditis and all the other, the force that they tried to get you to do it. A lot of people regret getting it. And so the vaccine injuries, I think more people are aware now than ever before that the pharmaceutical companies oftentimes don't have our best interest at heart. And do you believe that that maybe there's some big diseases like the diabetes that are there's treatment makes them a lot more money than curing it? Do you believe that maybe they're holding back on some kind of a cure?
From the type 1 autoimmune side, which actually onsets a little bit, sometimes it's as early as, 4 to 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Sometimes we're getting adult onset type 1s, which is crazy. And I think it's viral related. I think that COVID created a lot of autoimmune type 1s in adults, to be honest with you. And, the problem is with that I do think they have some kind of eradication or cure for the type 1. Type 2 is a man-made disease. It's, we do it to ourselves by what we put in our mouth. And it's real easy to reverse. That's where Americans need to get educated. Type 2 you can reverse within 60 days if you do the right things.
Real quick, I want you to help us out. Anybody watching, maybe they've got that diabetes diagnosis, and then I got the type 2. What are some of the ways, or where do you go to find out how to reverse that? I know a lot of diet and exercise is going to come into place, but you need a plan.
Yeah, diet and exercise, obviously is the key to everything, right? But what is your diet? What type of exercise? The plan is in a lifestyle format, right? So we put together a real easy lifestyle medicine app that's on Apple and Android, a worldwide app, and then we have a second area. You can go to usdiabetescare.com and hit a Learn More tab. You can read everything about our website in our education lifestyle education series app on the website, and you can download it from there. It's $120 a year. It's nothing to change your life. And the reality comes down to is let's put dumb Americans down, tell them that there's no cure. Doctors tell you once you have type 2, always a type 2 diabetic, and just throw more medication at you. That is such a falsehood. There's no truth behind that. Scientifically, there's no truth behind that. And so we need to quit dumbing Americans down, get them educated. And I say there's 4 pillars, right, to better health, and that, hydration. And when I mean hydration, I'm not talking about sweet tea and Mountain Dew. I'm talking about pure water. Fiber. We got to get more fiber in our diet. Fiber is a great binder of anything that you're putting in your diet or you're eating to kind of slow down the digestive system and also help clear things out within type 2. More fruits and vegetables, right?
Yep.
People are told that they're diabetic, don't eat fruit because there's fructose in it. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Fructose basically breaks down in a more natural way in the body, and then over time the body doesn't recognize it as a sucralose or a sugar type component. And then the biggest thing is walk. Just I'm not telling people to run a marathon, be a bodybuilder. Just get out there with some good walking shoes and get walking.
Get walking. Tim Keller, I want you to give that website again. He is the healthcare lifestyle analyst and founder of US Diabetes Care. They have an app that's available on the App Store out there that can help you reverse diabetes, and talks about diagnosis to reversal, about a 90-day successful lifestyle program. But Tim, if folks want to get the app, they can look on the app stores, but also they could just go to your website and learn more about it.
Yes, absolutely. The website again is usdiabetescare.com.
usdiabetescare.com. Tim Keller, appreciate you hopping in here on the show. Tim Keller, lifestyle expert, and jumping on the program. US Diabetes Care. Look up the website, my friends, and thought very interesting. It's so interesting to see that, and I just love reminding everybody, and be reminded myself, that you look at some of those big companies, the Pfizers, the ones, have they put out any cures in the last 100 years, or since they've been around 75 years? I don't know. Not a lot of cures, a lot of treatments, a lot of medication goes out there. But what about the cures? You always hear the agencies looking for the cures, but the people making all the money are the ones that are just selling the treatments and the cover-up. And we treat the symptoms and we don't treat the root. And that's what Tim Keller's talking about, getting down to the root of what causes that man-made type 2 diabetes. And we make it ourselves, and we can unmake it ourselves. And he's got an app, US Diabetes Care. Look them up on the interwebs. All right, don't forget, coming up September the 5th is our charity golf event. It happens every year. This is the 9th annual event. It's at the Colorado National Golf Club in Erie, Colorado. And I'd love for you to be there with me. Producer Chad was out with me the other day when we were at the Colorado National Golf Club, and well, he found me looking for my ball, and I wasn't even golfing. I was looking. Okay, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome me to the platform, producer Chad behind the camera. And this is me at the Colorado National Golf Club telling you what a great event it's going to be. Roll it, please. Hey, it's Jimmy, the Rivers Promise, just over here looking for my golf ball. You know why? Because I'm not a great golfer. And you know what? To play in our golf tournament for Rivers Promise, You don't have to be a great golfer. Matter of fact, most people are going to have their balls right out here. Just come play with us. Friday, September the 5th. Registration is open. It's our 9th annual charity golf event. Biggest fundraiser of the year for Rivers Promise. We need you here to be successful. Register. RiversPromise.com, RiversPromise.org. Again, Friday, September the 5th, Colorado National Golf Club in Erie, whether you live down the block or across the country. Get here, Friday, September the 5th. And also, you can help me find the ball that I've lost today on Friday, September 5th. See you here. Might have been a little hyperbole about whether I lost a ball. That could have been acting. I'm thinking there could be an Oscar or a Grammy. What do they give for actors? I think that's pretty good. I look like I was really lost out there, right? I also look like I ate a big ball right in the belly there. I'm working on it, my friends. I'm working on it. I've started doing the walks, et cetera. So anyway, yeah, I did. I look like I ate 4 basketballs, don't I? It's kind of big one. Woo! You know, the camera adds 10 pounds. Yeah. Anyway, a good. I use that as motivation to continue walking, get my steps in every day. All right, great to have you here on the show. Friday, September 5th. You can absolutely, positively go register. And by the way, yesterday, 3 more foursomes signed up for that event, and we've got more sponsors coming in. If you'd like to, if you're not a golfer, sponsor a hole. Be a sponsor of the event, and we'll love to promote you, put a sign up for you, but we'd love to have you there as well. Even again, there's not one great golfer that shows up here. I don't think. If they are great golfers, we don't know because they're probably drinking too much is what's happening. So anyway, Friday, September 5th, RiversPromise.org, RiversPromise.com, and we can definitely, absolutely love to have you there. Promise you we would. All right, I want to tease one more time before we go to my next guest, Sheriff Steve Reams. President Trump this morning was out on Truth Social, poking the bears, if you will. This is what he put out early this morning. I'll put it up one more time. I don't know why that's not working. There we go. Free Tina Peters, a brave, innocent patriot, tortured by crooked Colorado politicians, including the big mail-in ballot supporting the governor of the state. Let Tina Peters out of jail. She did nothing wrong except catching the Democrats cheat in the election. She's an old woman and very sick. You know, Tina appreciates the help, but I wonder how she likes reading a Truth Social that says she's an old woman. No lady likes to hear that, President Trump. Be careful. She could hit you with her purse one day. If she's not released, I'm going to take harsh measures. Not sure what that means, but that was President Trump's big tweet out this morning, or truth out this morning. He's paying attention to the state of Colorado. Marley Hornick is coming up on this show at 9 a.m., and she knows a lot about what's happening behind the scenes of the Tina Peters case, and they're trying to free Tina Peters, and Marley Hornick going to come up on the program today, and she can respond exactly to what Donald Trump put out early this morning. All right, news stories out there that have been bothersome to me is that, first of all, we had the guy in Florida that had a commercial driver's license issued by Washington and California, and he's an illegal, didn't know how to read English, didn't know the signs, failed his driver's test, basically. And Gavin Newsom and these jackwagons on the left coast handed him a commercial driver's license. He goes out to Florida and makes an illegal U-turn. It's a 4-lane highway. If you don't know what happened, a 4-lane highway, 2 lanes going each direction. And you know, you have those gravel things right in the middle, the rocks better, gravel or cemented asphalt, and it's for emergency vehicles to make turnarounds. Well, he decided he's going one way. He decides to go on the highway to the right lane to get enough of an angle and circle back in and cross over the other lane and go through that thing that's not even modified or ready for a truck. And you've seen if you haven't seen the footage, it's horrific of a minivan slamming into his trailer, killing a family of 3. And this guy had first of all, you don't do that in a semi truck on a highway. It's illegal. And second of all, there's signs. I mean, he's a failure as a driver, and murderous behavior. Stupid that he even had a driver's license. That happens. How do illegals need driver's license? Why are we giving illegals driver's license? I've told my story recently about getting an Uber and Lyfts, and nobody could speak English. They didn't speak English. And the one guy that ran through the detour sign, I had to call Lyft myself and alert them or text them and say, hey, you got to get this guy off the road. He went past the detour sign and he started going around. And I'm like, dude, that's it. I'm trying to talk. You didn't understand until I pulled up my phone and pulled up my Spanish because I was kind of panicked, like we're about to die here. And I said, alto or whatever. I think that's all. Well, stop. And I this way. And I got him, but it was hand signals. He couldn't read the signs. And he's driving around in a Lyft car trying to get me to the airport. It's scary out there, these illegals that have driver's license, and they, first of all, shouldn't have a driver's license, and most of them shouldn't even be here in the first place. Then you have the story about the Tren de Aragua headquarters. Jared Polis says he's going to get corporate headquarters to come to Colorado. Evidently, he only got Tren de Aragua to come here. And they showed up here in Aurora, Colorado. And Jared Polis said it's a part of your imagination. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring into the conversation good friend of the program for many years. He's a great sheriff, Sheriff Steve Reams of Weld County, Colorado. He can speak not just nationally, but he can speak to this stuff locally. Sheriff Reams, welcome to the show, sir. How are you? You are muted, sir. You are on mute. Unmute yourself. You were muted. Oh, there. I think you got it. There we go. Now try. He's muted still. Sheriff, you are muted. Your microphone. I can't hear you. You are muted, sir. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. This is live. We just do live radio, live television together. Sheriff, can you hear me now? You're live here. Mute. Let's unmute. He's not muted here. He's unmuted here. Okay, it's on your end. Let's maybe go out and come back in. We want to go out and come back in. Hold tight. Go. I don't know. It says he's on our side. It says that, right? Producer Chad, it says he's on. It's live. We don't do sound checks. They come in the chat room there. Let's see if we can get him there. Can you hear me now, sir? He can hear me. I can't hear him. We have a connection problem somewhere along the line. Okay, I think he's going to re-sign back in and check his computer. I think it's on his problem. You know, you never want to tell the sheriff that it's his fault. It's bad form. Anyway, yeah, good to have you here on the program. Let me bring up this topic of the question of the day that I didn't get to. Oh, I hear Ann Vandersteel is going to be coming up here in just a minute as well, and Sheriff Reams is having connection issues, so we may have to call him audible. Here's the question of the day. I was watching television last night, and they had this story on that Marcus Lemonis, a bazillionaire, that's known on television for kind of fixing different businesses and investor, and he's on several shows on reality television, that evidently he has taken the lead of the old brand Bed Bath & Beyond. Anybody remember Bed Bath & Beyond? I liked Bed Bath & Beyond. And I know, that's not a masculine store. Listen, it was a gimmicky store. I could buy every little gadget that I ever saw on television, all the as seen on TVs. It was always there. If you ever needed anything just kind of quickly, it was just, I liked it. I enjoyed Bed Bath & Beyond. It was a strange thing for me to do. They often had some kind of a miracle cleaning spray. And it's not like I'm a dirty person, but you give me something that can spray and take a stain off, I'm going to buy it and then try to create a stain and fix it. There's just something satisfying about Bed Bath & Beyond. So I was actually sad that they went out of business. A lot of people speculate one of the reasons they went out of business is because they started getting political and taking like the My Pillow out, making a stance on on topics like that. But I hope Marcus Lemonis will get it right, and they're starting to bring back the brand. I think they're going to open the first one in Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. I saw him on Fox News last night, and he was in California, where he issued a statement to California and said, California, we are not at all going to ever open a store in your state unless you change some things. It's not profitable. You'll take everything we have. And so he said, California, we're reopening the brand, and you're not going to get a piece of the action. I want to get more to that story because the Gavin Newsom response was fascinating and very non-presidential, if you want to know my opinion. But it brought up the question last night. I had this kind of gushy feeling like, oh, good, Bed Bath & Beyond is open. It's going to reopen. I don't know when they're coming to my neighborhood, but I hope they do because it was just a fun store to putz around in. And I always bought crap I didn't need. I always would buy something I didn't need. You may not even need a new shower curtain, but you buy one. You may not need that stain remover, but you buy it. You may not need that little scrubby thing, but you buy it. I loved Bed Bath & Beyond. It was fun for me. I'm weird. Where they're coming back, and it brings up the question of the day. You ready? The question of the day is, what iconic brand of a store or such are gone that you miss now? You really wish they were still around. And for me, it'd be Bed Bath & Beyond. Someone has mentioned the Kmart. Anyway, that's your question of the day. Talk amongst yourselves. Let's try one more time with Sheriff Steve Reams, and we're going to Ann Vandersteel as well in the program. Sheriff, do we have a solution? Oh, it doesn't work. I cannot hear you. I can't hear you. We'll reconnect. We'll reschedule. I don't know what to do. We'll reschedule. Do they even, anybody in Weld County, Colorado, have a tech guy to go help the sheriff with his microphone? He's fighting bad guys, and you guys ought to go help him with his microphone. They got to have tech support there, don't they? I think they do. Linda says Kmart is that brand, iconic brand that she really, really misses. Kmart. For me, it's Bed Bath & Beyond. Now, Linda, I'd love to know, as you comment, feel free to tell us why it is that you love those places. Let us know why you love the place. What was it? For me, it was just the gadgetry of it. It was Bed Bath & Beyond was like a smorgasbord of crap you didn't need. Bed Bath & Beyond was like the smorgasbord of stuff that you could buy to the Walmart, you could buy to the Target, you could buy it somewhere else, but it's all there piled in like a pimple on a teenager's face, and it's there, and it's just explosion of goodness. And if you'd ever seen on TV this Potter pan that won't stick and do that stuff, you could buy it there. You didn't have to do the 1-800 and 3 easy payments of $19.99. You could buy it there. Radio Shack's a big one. Jim, I miss the Radio Shack. The Radio Shack, I mean, it still was hanging on for a couple of years until a few years ago. But Radio Shack, that's when you could take in a fuse and you gave it to the nerdy guy. I knew a guy, I don't know, I remember his name, but I ran across a guy that I went to church with actually back years ago. He was a manager of a Radio Shack. And if you had a problem, you take your fuse in there and he'd find the right fuse for you. You could buy walkie-talkies. That was a big deal as a kid. You want a good walkie-talkie, you headed down to Radio Shack. Jeff says Sears and Montgomery Wards. Are there still any, are all the Sears closed or do they, yeah, I think they're all kind of wrapped up, right? Montgomery Wards, Montgomery Wards was on the other side of town for me. And so we didn't go to Montgomery Wards. I don't remember ever going into a Montgomery Wards, but I remember seeing it. And maybe I was just too young because when did Montgomery Wards close? Yeah, that's a brand. I guess if you miss it, that's good. Ray says Toys R Us with my granddaughter. I think the Toys R Us brand is coming back as well. They're going to revitalize that. Our Lois says she misses Ben Franklin's, but young people probably don't even know what. Was that a 5 and dime store? I think it might have been. Our 5 and dime store in our town was called Mott's, Motts. And that's where you bought your school supplies. And I always wonder why they called it. There's a 5 and a 10 on the sign, Mott's, 5 and dime. And I always wondered why, because there was nothing in there that for a 5 or a nickel, but that's what it's called. I think that's what Ben Franklin's was, I think. Yeah. I'm loving some of the comments coming in of people, things that people miss. Radio Shack. Dennis says he misses the Blockbuster Video. Anybody remember Blockbuster Video and the hell you went through to be the first one there on a Friday night so you could get the new release? And they had the cover, and then you had 4 or 5 in the back and behind it, and you grabbed it. And man, that was a special time. And then if they didn't have the new release, and you just walk in the aisles, kids won't remember this. They walk in the aisles to try to find the video that you want. That's good times. Anyway, Bed Bath & Beyond is coming back. Woolworths. Man, I remember the name Woolworths. Was that like a Walmart? I think it was Woolworths. I remember the name. I can remember it. I don't know if this was a Texas thing. There was a brand that I don't know how far it went because I was, again, a wee tyke. It was called Gibson's. Anybody, Texas? Was that a Texas thing? Was that national? Gibson's. And it was kind of like a small Walmart type thing from what I remember. Again, very, very early memories of my life. But I remember where my grandparents lived. I go stay with them for a week in the summer sometimes, and there was a Gibson's in their town. And about the time we were getting bored, because at grandma's house, and they had 2 channels, and it was hotter than heck in West Texas at that time. And so you didn't want to go out and play that much. So if grandma took us to Gibson's, it was a big deal. That was fun because then there was a convenience store that usually meant after that we were going to get what's it called, a slushie. She's going to buy us a slushie. And those were back in the days, though, that we should take us to the city park, and it was a sheet metal piece, and you'd burn your hiney and your legs going down the slide, but you got a slushie afterwards, so it was worth the torture. And sometimes we get to stop at Gibson's, and Gibson's, I think they had farms. So again, I'm talking early memories. I'm talking. I think they had a farm like you could buy fertilizer and a riding lawnmower. And then they did have a toy department because my cousin and I would often like to go to the toy department. All right, brands that you miss out there. Somebody says Shopco. I'm not familiar with Shopko, but if you miss it, that's good for you, Todd. Maybe I've heard of it. Is that, again, some of these brands are regional. That's fine. Like Gibson's is probably a regional brand. I don't understand yeah. Okay, there was a Gibson's in Loveland. Thank you. Loveland, Colorado had a Gibson's. Good for Loveland. I like Gibson's. But I don't remember. I don't remember buying anything. I don't remember. I just remember we had one or two in town, and my grandma had one in town. And so if we got bored, we hoped that grandma would take us to Gibson's because she lived in a small town, and that was really the only store that, besides the grocery store. Yeah. All right. Good to have all of you here on the show. Don't forget Friday, September 5th, our charity golf event coming up. Question of the day: what iconic brand or store do you miss, and would you like to see resurrected? Bed Bath & Beyond is going to be resurrecting themselves slowly but surely across America, but not in California. California's a bunch of commies, so they're not going to go there. But what iconic stores or brands are gone that you miss, and which ones would you like to have remain? Like Gibson's. If Gibson's revitalized, I guess it'd be a competitor of Walmart from what I remember. But I don't care if they resurrect or not because I don't have it. I just have a good memory. Bed Bath & Beyond in my adult years was just a fun store to go peruse on. And I just enjoyed it. It's one of those stores that I just enjoyed. All right, name them in the chat room. We love to hear them if you're on the YouTube. Some of you chiming in on YouTube. Dennis looks like he's rocking the YouTube. Arlo is on the Facebook. Jim's on one of the Facebook feed. Don't forget, we're on several Facebook feeds. We're on Facebook.com/Jimmy Lakey fan page, Facebook.com, the Media Equalizer, Facebook.com/Red Wave America, and a dozen of, we got a lot more out there. We're on so many feeds right now. It gives us access to, by the end of the day, and by the time this loads up on the podcast format, we're going to go podcasting, right? You go to Spotify, Apple, Podbean, all the things, iHeart, all of these things. The audio version goes up right after the show. By the time we do the live show on all the platforms we're on and the podcast form, but I will say bazillions, but that'd be a lie. Thousands of ear holes will listen to the show or see the show, but listen to the show by the time we're done or by the time it gets loaded up and throughout the week. So thousands of ear holes will hear what I just said. And we appreciate all those thousands of ear holes listening to the program. All right, let's switch gears outside of the iconic store brands, walking down memory lane to the Gibsons, to the Radio Shack, to the Bed Bath & Beyond. Bed Bath & Beyond, I'd love to see one. I'd love to see one. A lot of crap I didn't need. And, I live in a big house all by myself now that my son's out of college. So I don't need crap. But Bed Bath & Beyond is a place that I'll just buy crap. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this? I just don't need a lot. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me bring in Ann Vandersteel. If you're not familiar with Ann, you should be. We're going to talk judges a little bit if we can, and kind of our justice system out there. The co-founder of the American Made Foundation, waiting patiently in the green room, Ann Vandersteel. Ann, welcome in.
Hi, Jimmy. Good to be with you. Thanks for having me on today. You got quite a show going.
Any old brands coming? Were you a Bed Bath & Beyond person? Did you like them? I miss them.
Oh, who does? I mean, I don't shop. First of all, I'm a surgical strike shopper, but if I needed something related to housewares, Bed Bath & Beyond was always a go-to just because it had everything.
Yep.
And yeah, I used to buy my pillows there also. So, it didn't surprise me. Right after they banned Mike Lindell, they really hit the skid row of financial hard times. So glad to see them reorganizing. Hopefully they'll stay out of the politics, because I don't go shopping at stores for politics. But if you're going to go there, then I'm not going to go there. It's just that simple. So they got burned.
Lamonius needs to come out and announce immediately that they're going to start carrying my pillows back in the store, and they'll do very well. I thought it was good. Marcus Lamonius was on the Fox News making the announcement and interviewing, so I guess he's he seems to be maybe not as woke as perhaps previous leadership. All right, let's dive into a couple of things. We're in month of August, and we continue to see, it seems like it has slowed down a little bit. But every time President Trump raises his head up, somebody sues him, and you have this judge that'll come out there and say, you can't do that. And it's been a pretty good record getting up there, and eventually he can do that, and they get slapped down. What in the world are we going to do with these low-level district judges that are making edicts and decisions that affect America in areas that probably none of their business?
Well, we've got to get rid of them clearly, and we need Congress's help. We need some impeachments to remove some of these. The president has been well within his constitutional and federal law order to do what he does. So if you're talking about, let's say, Justice or Judge James Boasberg, right? This is an Obama appointee. He's the chief judge of the DC District Court. This guy, thinks he can legislate from the bench. He thinks he can override the Constitution. He wasn't just, wagging his finger at Trump officials with civil contempt. No, he went all the way. He went thermonuclear with criminal contempt, basically over, the return of people who came across our border illegally, violating Article 4, Section 4. Of course, Joe Biden didn't understand that. But, he went fully with criminal contempt, targeting the executive branch officials for doing their job, something Joe Biden clearly couldn't do, either because he was told he couldn't, or he didn't understand it, or we don't even know what his problem is. He was just a criminal sitting up there in D.C. I call him the mushroom. But here's the law, Jimmy. Under Article 2, Section 1, President Trump actually, and all presidents, hold the executive power. And Article 2, Section 2, he's also the commander-in-chief and the primary actor in all of our foreign relations. So, what about immigration enforcement? Well, guess what, Jimmy? That's also covered under the Immigration and Nationality Act under 8 USC 1101. And that also gives executive authority to remove these illegal aliens. So when deportations are frankly tied to foreign agreements, as these flights were in El Salvador, when Trump was sending these people back to El Salvador, that falls under president's foreign affairs powers. So listen, that guy Boasberg, who, by the way, we FOIA'd his oath of office back in 2022. And when we finally got a response in early 23, we found out we couldn't find his oath of office. It was deficient, meaning it wasn't fully completed. This guy Boasberg, more of an actor, wasn't even upholding the law. He was usurping it. And he turned contempt power basically into a weapon against our Constitution itself. And that's why the appellate court had to just punch him in the nose and smack him down. And they were within their right to do so. So I'm glad to see that was overturned. It was ridiculous on the face.
Yeah. It'd be nice if our U.S. Senate would ever hold people in dereliction of duty, violating their oath, and actually did the impeachment thing. That's the system of checks and balances. Nobody seems to want to check the judicial branch. They all want to check the presidential branch, but nobody else checks themselves. And that's
right.
Therefore, we have a system of checks, but no balance. And that's not what our founders intended. You guys have a new project coming out. I want to make sure we take time to push. It's a movie. It's a film that's actually going to be in the theaters. It's presented by the American Made Foundation. You can see Ann Vandersteel's website is annvandersteel.com, but she's co-founder of the American Made Foundation. And I want you to just unpack this a little bit. The name of the movie, the premiere that's going to hit on September the 7th, is called Taken, State-Sanctioned Kidnapping. And there's limited seats, but it's going to be very impactful. I hear state-sanctioned kidnapping. I'm like, what is this, North Korea? And what is this movie about?
You think, by the way, these agencies are running our lives, or attempting to anyway. This is a movie targeting the Child Protective Services industry. And let's face it, this industry is funded by the largest government agency, Health and Human Services, Social Security Administration, under Title 4E. That funding flows through down into all 50 states under whatever acronym they're using in the CPS environment. And specifically, this movie takes place in Massachusetts, where the Department of Children and Families, this is one of the subcorps of CPS, targeted the Rivera family. Why? Because the Rivera family, with their beautiful 5 children, did not want to give their 9-month-old a vitamin K shot at the pediatrician's office. So the pediatrician, being the good, dutiful, mandated reporter that he is, contacted Department of Children and Families, whereby they immediately sent out the man-child with a clipboard to start harassing the Rivera family to cajole them into taking this shot. These children have never been in danger. There's never been a report of any, malfeasance in the house, yet they were being targeted over a vitamin K shot. The family was so sick of it, they up and moved to Texas, whereby Massachusetts sent a warrant for their arrest to the state of Texas. The state of Texas actually issued 20-some law enforcement officers to go in and at gunpoint remove the parents from the children and keep them locked up at $2.5 million bail each, Jimmy, for a month before they were extradited back to Massachusetts, where they were facing charges. Where we are with this is full lack of due process, complete overreach by an organization that had no business. In fact, what we now know out of Massachusetts DCF is that 97% of the cases that fall into DCF hands don't even meet the legal threshold to have children removed. It's just so egregious. There's a cottage industry that's sprung up around all of this to facilitate the continuation of separation of children from their parents. There's no incentive to reunify the family, in other words. So we are taking a very hard look at DCF. The movie is Taken, state-sanctioned kidnapping. There's limited seating at the Legacy Theater in Dedham, which is a suburb of Boston, on September 7th. We have a VIP gathering before if you want to spring for those tickets, but it will also be live streamed on our website, AmericanMadeFoundation.org. So everybody can see how just egregious this is. And our goal with American Made Foundation and our sister, American Made Action, our 501c4, is to dismantle the entire apparatus. We know there's plenty of community-based organizations out across America that want to help families in distress. We certainly don't need the government overreaching to profit at the, at clearly what could be a painful, trying time for families under certain circumstances.
The name of the film is called Taken. The big premiere on September the 7th is at the Legacy Theater just outside of Boston, but it will, if you're not in that area and not going to fly in for it, you can watch it on the live stream on the website, American Made Foundation. You can watch it there. Talk about the system. I'm going to be talking about this the rest of the show, and I want to get your take on it. I'm sure you followed this. This was President Trump's truth this morning that went out poking the bear of right here in the great state of Colorado. And this is the truth he put out. And I'm sure you know, free Tina Peters, a brave, innocent patriot. She was a county clerk here in Colorado that got jailed. She's locked up because of a prosecution unjustly by Jenna Griswold and Jared Polis. I'll clean my language up, but people that run the state are governor and our Secretary of State. And Trump says she's an old woman, very sick. If she's not released, I'm going to take harsh measures. Tina uncovered some voter irregularities, if you will. Yeah. And they didn't like her exposing it. They didn't like the way she exposed it. And give me your take. You said we got to dismantle the whole machine. We got a machine of people out there that aren't taking away the integrity of our elections.
That's right. Tina Peters exposed the fact that they were altering the outcome of a federal election. Frankly, Tina Peters should be a federal witness at this point, put in the protection of U.S. Marshals and returned to her house. That is where we are with Tina Peters. This is talk about rogue judicial system. There you have it. The judge in Colorado, in the state of Colorado, is disgusting. Tina Peters was actually received a letter from Dominion telling her to back up the systems because they were coming in to do what's called a trusted build. And she did her job. She backed up and mirrored the systems and had the evidence to prove there was election fraud and there was tampering with the outcome of a federal election in that particular state. So as far as I'm concerned, Tina Peters should be sitting there rotting in prison. The judge should. Jenna Griswold should. The governor Polis should. Heck, most of Colorado's state legislature should. It's just despicable what's going on in the beautiful state of Colorado. For where I went to school, that's my alma mater, CU Boulder. So I am just very troubled by what I see was a beautiful red state become just completely held hostage by, a rogue government. And this is a government working against the people. The mandate to elect President Trump and for what he's delivering right now is overwhelmingly delivered. And yet Tina Peters sits and rots in prison because these demons are still out there. And I'm going to say this much, Jimmy, that executive order that President Trump should be delivering here on election machines and going back to paper ballots with watermark paper ballots, same day voting, is going to deliver a crushing blow to the psyche of these demons that think that they can steal our country and overthrow duly elected people all the way down ballot, because that's what we're learning. We have the evidence to back it up with groups like United Sovereign Americans, 10,000 volunteers who have captured all of the election irregularities, including the fraud that is just seeping all over all voter rolls from all 50 states down to every precinct. The voter rolls are completely corrupt and they're full of dead voters, fake voters, illegal voters. And that in of itself is voter disenfranchisement, which is a violation of your civil right. It's not a partisan issue anymore, Jimmy. When you've got people that shouldn't be voting, canceling out a left or a right vote, that's civil rights violations, and the lawsuits are flying in federal courts right now by the good people at United Sovereign Americans. And we've got circuit court conflict based on their judicial outcomes, how they've been ruled. The Supreme Court needs to hear the civil rights case toot sweet immediately, because it's that critical that we clean this up. And so President Trump's executive order will at least get us a clean midterm. And let's see how much we gut Congress and the rats bail from the ship when they realize they can't lie, cheat, and steal anymore.
You mentioned a great organization. I have Marley Hornick actually coming up here on the program in just a couple of seconds. She's going to join us.
Oh, fantastic. I love Marley. Please give her my best. She's fantastic.
I will. She may be in the green room now. I'm not sure. But Ann Vandersteel, your website's annvandersteel.com.
Right.
Give the American Made Foundation website and also the premiere of the Taken movie film. You got to see it. It's September the 7th, and it's going to be in Boston at a great premiere. VIP tickets available in the Boston area, or you can watch it on the stream on their website. Give all the details one more time.
Sure. It's AmericanMadeFoundation.org. In fact, if you permit, I've given you the opportunity to show the actual website, AmericanMadeFoundation.org. And on this website, you will see on the homepage right there, you can actually buy tickets to the theater, as well as this is where you'll go when you want to watch it live that evening if you can't make it into Boston.
Perfect. And it will be live streamed there, and everybody should watch it. And will it be after the September 7th? Somebody says, oh, shoot, that happened yesterday. I missed it. I'm sure you'll make it available for people after that fact, or is there going to be more theater releases? Or
no. There'll be more theater releases. We're doing red carpets around the country on this because it's incredibly important that we get to the states that have the most egregious CPS laws on the books. As what we're learning from our website, American Made Action, people are uploading their cases in the CPS system. And we are now starting to map out nests where you have clear lawfare against the people. You've got, people in the cottage industries of child trafficking and child protective services, AKA child trafficking. And we're starting to see who the bigger players are. And as we get that map, that's where we're targeting state by state. And we believe we've come up with a really good template that we can wash, rinse, repeat with federal lawsuits going state to state and removing this organization and getting the people back to supporting their people in their local communities. This is what it's about. General Flynn says it so clearly, Jimmy. Local action has a national impact. And why shouldn't that apply to our fellow, neighbors that are going through tough times, if in fact it even warrants separation from their children? Most of the time it doesn't.
Yeah, you mentioned the states that are the most egregious. I know Colorado, and I'm going to move here quickly to our next guest, but Colorado just passed a law in which if you misgender someone, in other words, you're a parent, you won't go along with the school, has said, hey, your boy's now a girl, you got to call him a she. And you're like, I'm the parent, I'm not calling my boy a she. Colorado's passed a law that those parents can be under legal jeopardy. Is that an unusual law? Who's the most egregious in America?
Right now, the government is clear. It's clear as day. The government has completely overstepped their roles. If we go back to the Constitution, I challenge anybody to find where any of these agencies were ever in existence or even in mention in the Constitution. It's clear. You and I didn't elect these bureaucrats that are handing out mandates, and I will never follow another mandate as long as I live. There's no way in heck they're going to ever tell me to put a mask on again. My choice, how I handle my health care.
Ann Vandersteel, appreciate you. Marley Hornick coming up next. Appreciate you. AmericanMadeFoundation.org, AmericanMadeFoundation.org. And we'll talk again another day. I appreciate you being on here. AmericanMadeFoundation.org. Before we go to my next guest, picking up on that topic of free Tina Peters, following up on the Truth tweet, the Truth social post by President Trump this morning with Marley Hornick, I want to remind you that Sherry Cree is who you need to call as a fine sponsor of the show. If you're contemplating a real estate transaction, especially those of you that are right here in the Colorado area where I am, I know throughout the day, thousands of ear holes will listen to this show, see this show, and some of you are not in Colorado. Well, some ways you're blessed to not be there here, and some ways you're not blessed to be here. So you get the idea. But if you are in Colorado, what I call the I-25 corridor from, let's say, Denver Metro up to Fort Collins, if you're heading down towards Colorado, listen, the whole kind of metro area, Sherry can help you with real estate. And if by chance there's an area that she says, I'm not that familiar with that area, she gives you a referral. She can get you the right person to connect you that does the best in that area. But more than likely, it's going to be her. And it's not just about, I say this every day, it's not about sticking the sign in the yard. It's about making the right decision, getting ready to put the sign in the yard, and also not just the right decision about putting the sign in the yard, but making the right decision that that is going to affect your family in a positive way down the road. Real estate can be that thing that creates generational wealth, and you need to use it and understand that it's not just getting an extra bedroom. Are you building more generational wealth? It's just a different paradigm, and that's what Sherry does. She wants to come along and help you get that home ready for sale, and also help you realize how important it is to make that right decision. You want to find the right neighborhood. You want to make sure you're not in an area that Jared Polis has destroyed in Colorado. You want to make sure you're not Jenna Griswold's number because you're afraid fire from heaven may fall. That she can help you. she can help you find the right place for you. You want to know the schools. You want to talk about theories about what happens with the interest rates. Is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? When's it going to change? Again, maybe you're not ready to do it right now, but maybe you know it's in your future. Call Sherry, homeswithsherry.com. Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. homeswithsherry.com. Make sure you tell her that you heard about her on the Lakey program, and sent Sherry a message yesterday trying to clear up. I think she's going to be on the program tomorrow, good Lord willing. Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. Thank you. You're welcome. All right, let's go to my next guest here as we clear the top of the hour. A little bonus section here coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Normally, we're starting to wrap it up, but we're going to bring in Marley Hornick onto the program. She's been with us before, and we're glad to have her now. Uniteforfreedom.com, uniteforfreedom.com. Marley, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Jimmy. It's great to be here. The last time we were talking, we got cut off. I was just about to go announce in DC at the press club that we were suing Tina Peters, the people who basically put her in prison, the people who went on the warpath against her. And all of a sudden I was gone. I said, where'd Jimmy go?
Yeah. You disappeared mid-sentence, and I guess you couldn't get reconnected. First of all, I want to pick up on that story, the announcement you made, the lawsuits that have already been filed. But you had to be thrilled this morning. This is what Donald Trump started the day with. Free Tina Peters on his Truth Social site. A brave, innocent patriot who has been tortured by crooked Colorado politicians, including the big mail-in ballot supporting the governor of the state, mail-in ballot supporting Governor Jared Polis, basically. Let Tina Peters out of jail right now. She did nothing wrong except catching the Democrats cheat in the election. She's an old woman, very sick. If she's not released, I'm going to take very harsh measures. You had to be thrilled to see that. Talk about the lawsuit and President Trump jumping in here.
Yeah, absolutely. Tina was right, Jimmy. The elections in Colorado, Trump is right. The elections in Colorado are not being run above board. We don't know who is behind the actual manipulations that are taking place, but we know who is failing to enforce a legally valid process for the citizens of Colorado. And that is Secretary of State Jenna Griswold and Attorney General Phil Weiser. So we're suing them in federal court in Colorado for depriving the citizens of Colorado of the right to vote. And, some of the facts and evidence that we've brought in to support these allegations are, for example, over 44,000 voters in the 2024 election whose votes were counted were registered to vote after they voted. Over 600,000 votes that were recorded by Secretary of State Griswold regarding the 2024 primary election have been edited, deleted, or erased. So who is back there behind the scenes cooking the books on Colorado elections? Well, I don't know, but somebody has got to find out. And Griswold is supposed to be investigating. Weiser is supposed to be investigating, not persecuting a Gold Star mom in her 70s.
Talk about the Tina Peters case. A lot of folks only have the narrative that they were told by Griswold or Polis, our governor here. What did they say she did versus the reality? Reconcile the difference between this narrative and why it is, because again, they painted her in a very nasty light in the Colorado media. These Colorado politicians, they did not talk about everything that they should have talked about when it came with Tina Peters.
That couldn't be more true, Jimmy. I totally agree with you. This woman, she was in charge of the systems for Mesa County, Colorado during the 2020 election. She was the clerk responsible for certifying the county election. And she was told that the state was going to be coming in to do a reboot on her system immediately following the 2020 election. Now, everybody knows when you update software, you get glitches, right? It doesn't have to mean that there's something criminal going on. So she says, well, we're going to have to take an image of this server before it gets updated in case we lose something, because her job under federal law is to preserve those records for 22 months on behalf of the citizens of Mesa County. Now, the state flipped out when she said she was going to take a server image, and she ended up having to get outside help. All she was doing was upholding the law, but the state would not support her. She couldn't hire someone above board, so she ended up having to go around and hire somebody outside of the government to come in, take that image, and provide that documentation that she needed to comply with federal law. And that's really, that's basically the essence of the circumstance. Now, that image has been, it's been audited, it's been verified. There's huge anomalies, huge problems inside of the election, just like what Unite for Freedom has found just by looking in the official records of who voted. We don't even have to get into the machines. This is part of the problem. It's like she's the crook, right? She's the one who betrayed the American people by securing this data. The people who are supposed to have a clean election go on the warpath against her. They don't want the data preserved, first of all, which is illegal. And then they go on the warpath when she preserves it anyway. And here we are. Who knows who the people of Colorado really elected in 2020, 2022, or 2024. And that's Griswold and Weiser's job, is to figure it out. And they're completely failing you.
What are the recourses available? President Trump says he's going to be very harsh if they don't give her justice here in Colorado. They charged her with state charges, so he can't pardon her because her state charges, not federal charges. What recourses do you think President Trump is talking about when he says things are going to get real harsh measures if things don't straighten up here? What do you think?
It's an interesting question. I know that the Department of Justice has seized all of the 2020 election records, demanded them from Griswold and other administrators inside of Colorado. So it's very possible that they're scouring those to build a criminal case against Peters and Weiser. I don't know the answer to that question. I wish Trump would call me more often, because boy, do we have a lot of information that could help him.
Yeah.
But that's, to me, that would be the most obvious pathway for the federal government to take. You see, regarding our federal and state elections, when they're on the same ballot, the federal government has a vested interest in the security, accuracy, and legal compliance of everything about that election. People say, oh, the states get to determine time, place, and manner, but it's really a combined effort, and it's a combined interest, because when Griswold certifies an election, when she signs her name, swearing and attesting that everything about that election is accurate and legally compliant, she is simultaneously authorizing not only the entire Colorado government as duly elected by the citizens, but also all of the federal representatives that Colorado sends to Congress. So this is a big deal. And President Trump has probably a lot of different ways he can approach this, not the least of which being, like I said, either criminal statute or simply enforcing the guarantee clause of the United States Constitution.
Just to paint the evilness of this deceit that Griswold, who's as Ann Vanderstilt said, these demons, and I don't want to have a house next door to Jenna Griswold because of the way she behaves, because I'm afraid a fiery ball from heaven could come at any time. That's not my call, but I just don't want to live next to her or stand at the pearly gates with her or Weiser or Polis. That's my opinion. But talk about this Griswold. She sees this election. She has people like Tina Peters saying something's not right. Talk about the complicity or the behavior of Jenna Griswold on election day and the days after, even the days leading up to our election in Colorado. How much was she orchestrating? How much of this was she just too stupid to figure out what was going on? Tell us about Jenna Griswold.
Those are great questions, Jimmy. Who is really behind this? How much does she know? How much did she willingly participate in, and how much is she just too foolish and too arrogant to investigate? The problem is not whether or not she's the one complicit. The problem is that she refuses to do her sworn duty in figuring it out, finding it out, investigating the anomalies, investigating the problems, and making sure the citizens of Colorado are the voters. You see, the problem that they end up with, Jimmy, is that when no one knows who has voted, the United States Constitution is being abridged. The third sentence of the United States Constitution says that the people of the several states choose their representatives, right? So when Jenna Griswold signs off on a fraudulent election saying, yeah, this is what the people chose, she's lying. So, we ran a prevalence study. It's like, you could call it like a biopsy. We were studying the voters who voted in Jefferson County, Colorado in the 2024 election. Now, a lot of people will say that this is only one subset of the people, or this is not, conclusive evidence. We went and we tried to understand exactly who these voters were who had their votes counted in Jefferson County. And we hired private investigators because we can't look at social security numbers and other kinds of identifying information that's in these databases we used identity fraud prevention tools that are available on the open commercial market. These accurate tools tell law enforcement, banks, and other creditors and auditors exactly where a person is, not only in space, but in time. We looked these people up, and I'm going to tell you, we could not find 1,790 voters whose votes were counted in Jefferson County in any of these databases. We looked in 3 different tools. So if we can't find almost 1,800 of the voters who had their votes counted in a single Colorado county, what did Griswold do to make sure they were real Colorado citizens before she counted their votes? We couldn't find 16,800 of them at the address they voted from. So how did she verify that they really lived there when they voted from that address?
Wow.
Finally, Jimmy, we couldn't find almost 20,000 social security numbers on voters whose votes were counted. How did she find out who these people were if 20,000 of them in just one county didn't have a social security number? You see, this is not a legitimate process. And it doesn't matter if she's back there cooking the books herself or if she just doesn't give a crap about Colorado. But you know what? We care. That's why we're here talking. That's why people are listening, because we care. Trump cares. Everybody cares about this country. And if Griswold doesn't care, she's got to go. That's what our lawsuit is about. She has to defend the voting rights of Colorado citizens.
On the lawsuit, it's been filed. Griswold, Phil Weiser. Weiser wants to be the governor. Griswold wants to be the attorney general in the next election. Let's hope that both of them probably should be destined for somewhere besides offices of power in the state of Colorado. We hope that's the case. The lawsuit has been filed. What's the process, the timeline, and how can people, I guess, get involved to raise awareness as to what the corruption is in the state level of politics in Colorado and free Tina Peters?
The lawsuit has been filed, and we're expecting the state's response somewhere around the second week of September. I think the deadline that they have is either the 6th or the 9th or something of September. So we're expecting their response. They're, predictably, I'm sure they're going to move to dismiss the case. They're going to say, X, Y, Z, and it's not going to be true. It's going to be a whole bunch of malarkey. And we're going to pursue this case. We have a plaintiff whose election was actually within the county of Jefferson, and she clearly is injured. She clearly has standing to fight this, and we're going to take this all the way to the mat. People who want to support that litigation process, which is expensive, can help us at unite4freedom.com. And when you make that donation, you're also going to be supporting our next lawsuit coming out in only a couple of weeks against the Attorney General of New York State, Letitia James, the New York State Board of Elections, and about 20 different media outlets and journalists in the state of New York for a conspiracy against the civil rights of New York State citizens. Wow. That's going to be a really great day for this country.
Yeah. Make sure you stay in touch. I'll look to hear from you. We can email back and forth, get you back on anytime. As this thing develops, there's some things that's obviously, especially in Colorado, the Tina Peters stuff, this election stuff, I would almost 100% outside of being on the show, people have not heard anything about this lawsuit in Colorado. The media's in complicit here, and they're not letting anybody know. So as things develop, please come back on, let us know, keep us posted, because our news sites here in Colorado are not going to let us know anything.
Absolutely, Jimmy. I'll come on anytime. Keep you posted. Absolutely.
Unite for the number 4 freedom.com. You can follow along, you can donate, and we'll keep a sharp eye on it. And again, free Tina Peters, and President Trump is on that today. Again, if you haven't read his Truth Social post this morning, that's what it said. And it ties in nicely with our guest this morning. I didn't plan it that way. I didn't know that President Trump was going to help support the show prep. But President Trump, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You haven't hired me into your administration yet. You didn't appoint me an ambassador, but I appreciate you helping out with the show by giving us that silver thread of continuity that we can add there with your tweet this morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time, as we have finished up the bonus section of the show. It's time for, you ready? It's time for the stolen memes section of the show, and that's where we steal memes from around the globe, shamelessly letting you know we were too lazy to do them ourselves. Dennis says, thank you for clarifying this matter, Marley and Jimmy. Outrageous that Tina is in prison. It is a little outrageous when you hear the story. Again, I talk about this often. So if the media is speaking and they call themselves journalists, NBC, CBS, ABC, 9 News, Fox 31, whatever, you just have to ask, are they telling the full story? Are they reading the press release? Having worked years in radio, I'll give you a secret. You would be surprised. As news departments, they pretend to have news on your local radio station at the top of the hour, right? Your news. And what you don't know is a lot of that time that news is not even a local person doing it. Or when I was in the KCOL room, the news people were not local. There's no local newsroom. That was usually fed from Denver, and it was the same feed that went to Colorado Springs. In 10 years at KCOL, I never, ever, ever on the news. Now, I didn't listen to everything because I was sometimes taking a coffee break at my show. I never once heard a story about the Fort Collins City Council talking about a story I was doing, because some reason the guys in Denver reading the stories, pretending to be news guys, are just good voices and read their stuff. Some of them mean well, but they don't have any tools to go research or do journalism. They're always at Colorado Springs City Council. Well, that was the Fort Collins, Northern Colorado market. We'd hear about the Denver market. And you know why? Because a lot of the stories that come out are simply, they have no, even if they're great journalists and they really had wanted to be a radio news person or television news guy, they're stuck there. They're cutting tape, and they don't get to go out to the state capitol and interview people. So they find news audio clips. This is from 9 News. They hack stuff from someone else, and you'd be surprised how many news stories you will hear that are basically press releases that came through a fax machine or an email, and you got a press release and it becomes a news story. I'll give you a case in point example before we go to meme roulette. Yesterday I was driving and I was listening to an AM station. I don't remember. I tend to be, maybe it wasn't. I tend to go AM, FM. I listen, if I'm an FM, I've got a couple of Christian talk stations, Christian teaching and music stations. I've got the country music radio. So I don't know where I was at. But I think it was one from the iHeart Kingdom, because I remember the news story. And the news story was this. Denver City Council, most people don't even know who the city council is in Denver, even if they live in Denver, is canceling their annual retreat that was going to cost $26,000 because it's dark days and they had to do a bunch of layoffs in the city and county of Denver because they're broke and they spent all the money on homelessness. They didn't have the money, so they canceled their annual retreat. And they're looking for refunds from the vendors that they'd already put deposits down. So the city council and some staff were going to go up to the mountains and have a retreat and a cocktail hour and sing Kumbaya by the fire, or whatever they're going to do. And somehow it was the top news story that Denver had canceled the city council's retreat. Now, of all the things happening in Colorado, all the lawsuits were just is that a news story anywhere? And by the way, was there some reporter that went out and said, let's go to City Hall. I'm on the beat. I'm reporting live at City Hall. No, they got a press release from the city and county of Denver and said, you know what, we got to have something on the news, don't we? Let's just rewrite this. And they rewrite it. That's how your local news. There are other stories that probably were more pressing if you're going to do a Denver newscast, the city of county of Denver, that the city council of 8-10 people is not going to go on a retreat and get a free vacation for a weekend. That's not a legitimate news story. No one listening gave a rat's ass about that. But again, they make you they try to tell you what's news and what's not news, and it's all a joke. It really is a joke. I want to give you behind the scenes. I'll tell you this: you hear traffic. There's no local traffic reporters on most stations in America, at least in Colorado. Our traffic report was a lot of times coming from Phoenix. They're looking at a map just like you and I are. They're coming from Denver. You remember those days you had a helicopter? it's all a lot of smoke and mirrors, and you think you're getting local radio, and you're not getting local radio. That's why, yeah. Anyway, I could go on, but I want you to know the news thing says, is Denver City Council not going to retreat a real news story? The answer is nope, it's not. Let's do it. Stolen memes. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. I like this one. I said this to producer Chad. No vax for HIV after 40 years of research. No vax for cancer after more than 100 years of research. No vax for the common cold. Nope, not at all. Yet a virus mysteriously appears, and within 12 months, a vax is found by 4 pharma companies, all within 1 week. Yeah, but nothing was planned. Just let that soak in, my friends. Look at that. Let that soak in for you. Oh, hey. Oh, that's me. Hey, it's good to see me on the screen, isn't it? Yeah, let that sink in. Yeah. Somehow they miraculously, Operation Warp Speed. President Trump still brags about it. Somebody's got to let him know that that's nothing to brag about. I mean, he did his best, but it's not the thing. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. We steal this one from the Babylon Bee. Trump says, following brief phone call, that Hurricane Aaron has agreed to change a course. Trump picked up the phone and steered that hurricane. Here we go. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Oh, this is another great one. This is your Gen X disaster kit. Somebody's selling one. Earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricane, nuclear bomb shelter, all right there. And the person posting it says, no lowball offers. I know what I have. Anybody else wish you still had your Gen X disaster kit? I hated it when you got your Gen X disaster kit in school. You got put in one and it was wobbly because one of the legs was off or one of the stoppers on the bottom. That was always a pain in the butt. But, it's still, if the hurricane, the earthquake, the tornadoes, or the nuclear bombs hit, I still could get under it, even have a wobbly leg. Yeah. If I had one, I'd be the same way. I'm no lowball offers. I know what I have. I have a protection device. You did disaster drills and you had to practice. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Back in the day, looking back, our theme park was riding in the back of a truck without falling out. I think it's illegal now. I think they will literally pull you over, give you a ticket, and in the communist Marxist states like Colorado, probably report you to Child Protective Services and haul the kid out of your house. Yeah, we've become the pussification of the American family, and it all brought to you by big government. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. This is me opening Facebook every morning to see if I got banned overnight. Anybody feel that way? During the COVID season, the Fauci season, when people were thinking he's the Lord and Savior, and I knew he was a fraud, every time I signed on, I was like, well, let's see if I get locked down. Let's see if we do that. Yeah. That was usually me also every time I did a radio show to find out what jackwagon was going to be offended on the, yeah. Anyway, that's a whole different story. If I ever talked about the fraud of local radio on local radio and how the news, occasionally I'd mention it, kind of subtly get in there, not supposed to, but I'd get it in there. Yeah, I was always looking out the studio like, I just told him the traffic guy doesn't even live in the state. I did that. Most of your afternoon DJs aren't in the state. And some are just syndicated. A lot of guys are sitting in their underpants in Ohio and recording the same tracks for 4 different stations and just uploading into a computer. And the only thing to do is change the weather report. In Cincinnati, the weather is. In Denver, the weather is. And they just change it. It's the same. It's not a local guy. There's no local connection. The only people local in radio are some local managers, and even they have been thinned out. And it's a disaster. Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Babylon Bee, we're always a great source. Trump to receive the Nobel Peace Prize for getting Zelensky to wear a suit. Or the Nobel Prize. That's a good thing. That suit, he wore a suit. Trump should get an award. You see him get out of the limo. He's like, oh, great. You look great there, little buddy. You look great. I thought that was probably one of those funny things ever. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from. No one knows. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we have milked the meme machine dry. It's like teats on a bowl. There ain't nothing coming out of that. And so we're done. The Meme Machine will now rest for the next 22, 23 hours, and we will revisit it tomorrow on the program for the Friday edition. Again, one more reminder, Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com, great sponsor of the program today. Appreciate her. Don't forget our golf tournament coming up Friday, September 5th. Register at riverspromise.org. or riverspromise.com. You'll get to meet Chuck Lehman, Alicia Lewis, Joshua Lewis. They're usually hanging out there. Sherry Cree will be there. It's going to be a fantastic time, and you want to be there as well. And if you can't be there, be a sponsor, still some space for that as well. Riverspromise.org or riverspromise.com. Love to have you be a part of that. And also, don't forget, just a moment, we're going to shut this thing down. And when we shut it down, it's going to be uploaded into the world of cyber activity onto the podcast platforms. If you don't follow us on the podcast platforms, it's a great backup in case you ever miss it. Or you get lonely in the afternoon and you need to hear some of Brother Jimmy's voice here. Go to wherever you listen to podcasts and just look up Jimmy Lakey Unleashed, Jimmy Lakey Unleashed, Jimmy Lakey Unleashed, and you'll see it, like it, subscribe it, and it'll come to you automatically. I think you'll be very thankful for doing that, and I think the good Lord in heaven would also be very thankful if you do that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we must wrap it up, and I want you to, again, go to the website, contemplate and consider coming to the golf event coming up Friday, September the 5th. Contemplate and consider that, if you would. And as you contemplate and consider that, if you can't come, make a donation. Riverspromise.org. We appreciate it. Help us build Legacy Christian Academy in Rwanda. About to start a new school year over there. We could use your help. God bless you. God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.